afternoon. Welcome to the July 1st edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho.
I'm Jeremy Paul.
And as you can tell, it's Jeremy's laundry day. He's wearing the absolute most embarrassing thing he can find in his damn wardrobe. Now, we normally, as some of you guys know, we normally like to find things to complain about. Tuesday of last week, the Bowl Championship Series has rejiggered itself from the ground up. We are now, at long last, having a playoff for college football. The upshot is this: it's going to start in the year 2014. The top 4 football teams, as determined by the BCS Pollmeisters, will play a playoff to semifinal games. That'll happen during the basically 2 of the 4 BCS games will bid to have the semifinal games. The 2 winners of that meet about a week or so after that in the championship game. And, well, it's finally here.
Yeah.
Go for it.
There's an actual championship series to the Bowl Championship Series. Here's the issue. 4 teams. What team will be left out every year? Boise State. Every year there will be number 5. So it still does no good to have a Bowl Championship Series where you're only allowing 4 teams. Those 4 teams will end up being every year Alabama, LSU, and a Big Ten team or some shit, and then random team that's not Boise State. If you don't allow Boise State in, it doesn't count.
Here's my issue with that, because I know I can now tell that we are going to debate on this. And I'm okay with that. I honestly think that I am cool with a 14 playoff. Here's why. Here's why. Before we go into Boise State and boo-hoo over the Broncos. All right?
Okay.
If you expand it, it becomes an 18 playoff.
Right.
If you expand it to an 18 playoff, now you have quarterfinals, semifinals, championship round. My issue is, you may make an argument for number 5. I don't think it would necessarily be a particularly strong argument. You definitely won't be able to make an argument for teams 6, 7, and 8. Most definitely 8. And definitely 7. Why? Because teams 7 and 8 are going to have 2 losses. Maybe 8 might even have 3.
No.
That team has 0 argument.
That would go against the ranking system. Like if you got three other teams in the country that they go by strength of schedule, then those people that have the strength of schedule but have 3 losses shouldn't make it in at all. They shouldn't be in the top 10.
The fact of the matter is that there are teams with two losses that are in the top 10. If you have 2 losses, you do not. I'm sorry, you do not have the same authority to claim a right to play off for the national championship as a team with 0 wins.
Right.
I mean 0 losses. And for that matter, a team with 1 loss, provided that the team with 1 loss had a loss that was tough to. Where you could sit there and say, okay, you know what, we didn't want to lose that game. But for example, you're taking Boise State as the example.
Yeah.
Boise State, this is unfortunately where conference strength comes into play. If Boise State loses to a lame team in its own conference, because Boise State, frankly, is the only team in its conference that's really that good. And if they lose to say, they lose to say Utah State, if they lose to Nevada Reno, I'm sorry, they don't have the claim that a team losing to a Pac-10 team, a Big 12 team, a Big 10 team, an SEC team would have.
Why won't those teams? There are teams that refuse to go to Boise State.
Right, you are absolutely correct.
And that's the issue. It's just like the reason the boxing conferences, they force teams to play.
Right.
They force fighters to fight.
Right.
Will force these teams to play. If you want to be in the top 10 in BCS, play Boise State.
Would you then have an argument then if somebody said, look, the NCAA said, look, we're tired of seeing Oklahoma padded schedule by playing a division.
Most certainly.
Would you then say, if that were the case, that you wouldn't have a problem with a top 4 playoff?
I wouldn't at all, because if the top teams are playing each other, if you have a strength of schedule of what 17 or some shit like that, right? And somebody else in your conference has a strength of schedule that goes like 58. Fine. Those two teams are playing each other, but they're in the conference. Go outside your conference. Why isn't Alabama playing? Why aren't they playing Arkansas? Well, not Arkansas.
That's SEC.
Yeah.
You might want to sit there and say, why isn't Alabama playing, say, Texas A&M?
Yeah, that's wrong. I was thinking red
or
team.
Texas.
Yeah. But why aren't they playing a team that is essentially tough? But instead they pad their schedule by playing Notre Dame or some other team.
Well, I would rather have them play Notre Dame than play Eastern Tennessee State.
Yeah, that's the issue. If you start off your season by blowing somebody out 74-13, then you should not be in the bowl championship series, because obviously you set it up for your team to get some confidence because you didn't know if they were good enough to play a real team. Play Boise State.
Well, with that said, I know you're not a big USC guy, but one thing that USC always does is schedule up.
Yeah, you have to.
I will tell you that USC would not have a problem going into Boise State. That's just their attitude.
I would love to see it. Love to see it.
Here are the reasons why I think this is a good idea. And I'm sorry, I just don't see 8 teams or a 16-team playoff. Nor do I want that. Nor do I.
You don't want it?
I do not want a 16-team playoff. Because again, once you get down to 16 teams, now you're talking about teams definitely that have 3
What about
losses.
6 teams?
6 teams?
Yeah.
Then you're saying...
You can have 2 wild cards in the top 4.
At the end of the day, I'm going to sit there and say, while we can sit there and talk about a wild card team playing
or the 2 top teams get a bye.
What I'm saying is that, while you could make an argument for that, I don't see that argument being strong enough to overtake the actual top 4 teams playing on. The team number 5 probably has 1 loss, more likely has 1 loss, and that loss was a bad loss.
Yeah.
And if it's a bad loss, sorry, it's not like you went into Autzen to play Oregon and you lost on the last-second field goal in one of the toughest environments in college football. You probably lost at home to a team you should have beaten the hell out of.
It's like when Hawaii went undefeated, right?
Right.
And everybody was like, yo, Hawaii should be in a bowl championship game. Well, they should have, but they weren't that strong. Defensively. They were strong offensively, just not defensively. And they got what they deserved in that game.
As for 16 teams, now you're looking at a playoff system of 4 weeks, and now you're taking the college you're taking the college season, and you're making it as long or even longer than the NFL regular season.
Shrink it back down to 11 games. There was 11 games in the 80s. Why it got to be 13 now?
Because at least with 13, you're sitting there. Look, you got to make some allowances for them having the extra couple of weeks. I'm sorry, you just do. Here are the reasons why I'm good with it. One is that this is finally going to minimize a little bit the impact of the bowl polling.
Okay.
Because the fact of the matter is that the current way that the system is set up, it is almost lockstep that the SEC champion is going to be in the title game.
Yeah.
And I absolutely have a problem with that. I don't think that the last 6 BCS champions are from the SEC because the SEC is the best conference. I don't buy it. I simply think that we have to do something to break up the monopoly that block of writers has down there for the SEC champ. Yeah. And if you're looking at the top 4 teams, chances are you're at least getting, in theory, the best teams from each region.
Right.
You'll get the best team from the West Coast. You'll get the best team from the Southeast. You'll get the best team from the Midwest, and probably the best team from the Big 12, which is from the North. I can live with that. And if Boise State sneaks in because the Big 12 or the Pac-12 happens to suck that year, so be it.
Or if they go undefeated yet again, and they obviously are a better team than any other team in the country, but they don't get people to schedule them?
I'm simply saying that I'm in favor of the 14 playoff. At some point, you have to strike a balance between what is the cool playoff solution and what is a cool playoff. Because unfortunately, look, I realize that most of these guys are not student athletes. I realize that, but at the end of the day, you still have to get them into the class, even if they're faking it.
Yeah.
With that said, nice debate. I win. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? The NBA draft was this week. It was on Thursday. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm wearing a Pistons format. Yeah. The Detroit Pistons. I've been a lifelong Pistons fan ever since Kelly Tripucka was on the team. That long ago. Joe Dumars is the president of operations. I don't know if you know this, but the Miami Heat won the championship. Filled with three guys that were drafted in the same year. What year was that? 2004 or something of the sort. That year, LeBron went first. Dwayne Wade went 5th, I believe. Chris Bosh went 8th. The Pistons had the number 2 pick that year. They picked Darko Milicic. Sure, they won a championship, but where in the fuck is Darko Milicic now? Nowhere near a championship ring. This year, the Pistons had the 10th pick, I believe, 9th or 10th pick. They picked Andre Drummond out of UConn. Andre Drummond's 18 years old. Andre Drummond shot 29% from the free throw line. Andre Drummond scored 7 points a game, 4 rebounds a game in college. Joe Dumars, what the fuck are you doing? This is my honest to God. Please stop, quit, just quit, please quit, just quit, please quit, fucking Dumars.
Look, you're giving my man a stuttering complex.
Myers Leonard out of Illinois was the perfect pick. He went 2 picks later to the Portland Trailblazers. I guarantee the Portland Trailblazers will be in the playoffs next year, while the Pistons will be yet again in the lottery, because you can't stop picking horrible people to play for the team. Rodney Stuckey does not belong in the NBA. You let Will Bynum go. Who the fuck is it? Monroe? They're saying Monroe he's on the verge. He averaged 9 rebounds a game. He's our starting center. Drummond can't shoot. I'm sorry, he doesn't play defense like Ben Wallace. He doesn't guard anybody like Ben Wallace. He sucks. He's 7 feet tall. Please quit. Please quit. And another thing, Andre Drummond, retire, please. Please just take your money and run. Faking the injury. Just go, please, so we can get past you. I want another long-term voting project like Darko Milicic. I just want my team back. I hire somebody that knows how to draft people. You know, like Isaiah. Isaiah drafts people. Don't say he didn't. Tracy McGrady, Marcus Camby, David Stoudemire. You got rookies of the year there. He drafts people. How about you hire some? You might not want him to coach. You might not want him to run your team, but he can draft motherfuckers better than anybody else in the league. So, Dumars, step down from drafting, please. Please step down from drafting. I'm done.
Yes, you are done. Guys, I used to enjoy watching the Olympics. I don't hate the Olympics now. But the reason I haven't really watched it since 1988, my parents still do, especially my dad. And, well, I mean, my dad used to always get pissed off. The Olympics are coming on NBC this summer. My dad always used to get pissed off at ABC and NBC or whoever had the Olympics, because the Olympic coverage would always jump from event to event, and then they would always have these vignettes of up and close and personal with the athletes. And my dad would just fly into a rage about all these time fillers. And when I was a kid, I used to understand what my dad was thinking, and I would empathize with my dad. Then I watched the real track meets. okay? Track meets are a remarkable paradox. Track meets make speed boring. It is so flippin' long between events. No wonder NBC and ABC used to jump from event to event. No wonder they used to have these freaking vignettes. I mean, much worse. Track and field is a glimpse into the American psyche and how warped we really are in this country. We hate running, but we're really, really good at it. That's not exactly something that I want on, but and now we're going to sit there and we're going to look at track, and my dad once again is going to bitch and complain, and so are many of you. Be happy that they're jumping from event to event in the Olympics. Be happy with the vignettes. I don't want to see hours and hours of people running in a straight line, for Pete's sake. Then I came to an even bigger realization. My dad loves sports that suck. Rugby. My dad can't wait for later this month when the Tour de France comes on. The Tour de France, have you ever seen coverage on TV of the Tour de France? I don't want to watch 4 hours of hairy bobbing man asses. No, it's not this. It's this. That is what you get for 4 hours on TV every day during the Tour de France. This isn't even a straight versus gay rant, okay? Because that's not the point. I simply can't watch 4 hours of hairy bobbing man ass. I just can't. Sheryl Crow could, and that's why she hooked up with Lance Armstrong. Me, I'm not Sheryl Crow. I simply can't, and on top of that, I simply just can't watch 3-4 hours of dudes in unitards running in a straight line. I just can't. NBC, look, I now understand the wisdom. I now understand the wisdom of ballroom dancing, rhythmic gymnastics. I get it. You have my blessing to jump from event to event. From the bottom of my hairy bobbin man ass. Thank you for hearing me. We'll see you next week. I'm James.